Multiple weather hazards are simultaneously affecting the United States today as a seemingly benign weather pattern has set the stage for severe weather, a tropical storm that's about to move inland, and catastrophic flooding down in Texas. And that's where we're going to start. Texas has seen its share of rainfall over the last 48, 72, 96 hours, folks. I've been talking about this on the show every day down in south central Texas. We've seen round after round of rain. It has led to catastrophic flooding. Unfortunately, over a dozen people have already lost their lives, with a couple of dozen more missing, including campers from Camp Mystic. As the Guadalupe River has crested its banks rapidly, a wall of water came down the river, inundating small towns and communities and a camp, and lots of people are affected by that. Some are missing. Our prayers go out to them, but you can scroll here and see how quickly and how devastating that flooding looks. There's just tons and tons and tons of debris along the river now, where water has just rushed down. Parts of Texas have received over a foot of rain in just a short amount of time. And we're going to take a look at the Doppler radar estimates here, but we've got flash flood watches down here toward Austin and San Antonio, and all the way back into near San Angelo too. Burnett County is under a flash flood emergency. It's this one here for most of the county, with rising water moving into homes right now. You can see the radar down here already. Here, I'll move this onto a different view where we can see this better. But look at this. You can see maybe display one here would show it better. This rain has just been sitting here dumping. We're talking 4 to 6 inches per hour in some cases, where it's gotten really, really heavy. We've got high moisture content. Rain is just rapidly falling, and it's not moving out quickly. And so we're seeing massive flooding there. Look at this. This is a 72-hour rainfall accumulation, and it's way underdoing the totals here. That shows up to 8 to 10 inches has fallen. Much more than that has fallen in some of these areas from San Angelo down here toward Austin in these communities, and much more is coming. Look at this precipitable water. I show this from time to time, but this is the moisture content integrated through the entirety of the atmosphere. These reds are extreme numbers here, and look at this. This is today, this morning, playing this on out through the afternoon. Look. It just sits there. This is the remnants, by the way, of Tropical Storm Barry that formed in the eastern Pacific and moved in. It's gotten trapped under ridging here in Texas. We'll take a look at the upper air pattern in a minute, but it's just sitting there and it's not moving, and it fires up in the afternoon. When thunderstorms crank up, the heating of the day takes place. You get more instability, you get more coverage of showers and storms, and it persists into the overnight hours and even sometimes into the morning hours. And we've seen these areas of flash flooding down here. Look at this. We're out into Sunday. Getting into Sunday afternoon and evening, we finally start to see that abate a little bit, but not all that much. Still got high precipitable water content. That means very, 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 very efficient rainfall production. We're talking 3, 4, 5, maybe even approaching 6 inches over an hour or two, look, folks, and it's going to be very, very rainy in parts of Texas this morning. The model is underdoing what's out there already, so it doesn't really have a good handle on that. But watch what happens as we get on into the afternoon. More rain fires up. We've got showers and thunderstorms. My expectation is this is going to be a lot more, the coverage is going to be a lot more than what you're seeing here, but this at least gives you an idea of where the areas are that are most likely to see flooding again as we get into tomorrow morning, tomorrow mid-afternoon. Just rain, showers, and thunderstorms all over Texas. If we take a look at the rainfall estimates, we're looking at, again, anywhere between 4 and 6 inches of rain from Dallas down to back into San Antonio again, and even west of there, and probably going to see a lot more than this. I don't think the radar is doing a great job indicating just how much rain is continuing to fall. So these areas have been hard hit, will continue to be hard hit. See a couple of little spots here of 8 inches of rain. We're going to see more than 8 inches of rain probably in some of these spots. And the future radar doesn't know where to put, the model doesn't know where to put exactly the heaviest rain, but just know that it's going to be raining a lot. And anywhere in central Texas, you need to pay attention to the weather, stay weather aware. These flash floods can come up quickly and inundate areas before you even know it. So have multiple ways to receive alerts and stay tuned to local forecast, folks. But it's going to be a very wet and rainy day in Texas today and other parts of the country too. We're going to take a look at the tropical storm, because that has just developed and been classified as Tropical Storm Chantal, and we're going to look at that right now. There you have it, folks. Tropical Storm Chantal upgraded from a tropical depression yesterday evening, and now it is looking pretty good on the satellite. You can see that spinning here, the outer bands coming out of that. I think probably the deepest convection is not co-located with the exact center, which is not going to enable it to strengthen all that rapidly, but we should see maybe a little gradual strengthening as it moves inland over the next 24 hours. But there it is, looking pretty good. It was just upgraded, as I said yesterday, so we're going to take a look here by the National Hurricane Center. There it is, and if we click on it, kind of get an idea of what we're looking at in terms of arrival time. So this afternoon, starting to make its way on inland to the coast of South and North Carolina here, bringing with it some gusty winds and flooding rains. Not too bad, but probably see some minor street flooding along the beaches here as we get a couple of inches of rain here. Gusty winds, as I said, rip current risk is going to be a big threat here with this system. And we'll take a look here at what the European Ensemble says in terms of its prediction. There it comes, coming right on inland. Look at that. So pulling it in. It's pulling it in down here a little bit, near south of Charleston in South Carolina, bringing it on in and gradually weakening it, bringing it back up through sort of Fayetteville, eastern North Carolina, and then really dissipating it. And that's what the European is showing. The official track here in terms of the Tropical Prediction Center, we'll take a look at that track and how that plays out. But there we go. We have it coming in between Charleston and Myrtle Beach, getting up into that area, and again following I-95 up through the Carolinas. Looking at wind probabilities, not all that great. Tropical storm wind probabilities fairly low everywhere except along the beaches of South Carolina, but still tropical storm warnings are up in those areas there, and that's what we're looking at in terms of how everything sort of plays out. Looking here at let's check this out. Let's get on the tropical tidbits display. Here's the steering current. We've got a big ridge over the northeastern United States that's keeping everything kind of stagnant. That's why we're not seeing rapid motion except gradually to the north. We've got this trough coming in, and over time that will sort of act to pick it up a little bit and move it up to the northeast. So it won't get too far inland, but it could come on inland enough to bring some precipitation, some rain back into the western portions of the Carolinas into Georgia. Look at this. This is the HWRF model, and if we run this along, this stays centered over it, so you can see where it brings it in. It brings it in on here, central South Carolina, central southern South Carolina, almost near Georgia, as we go on over time. And look what it does. Center of circulation comes in over Columbia, rain shield coming back over Charlotte, Greensboro, back into the mountains of North Carolina and foothills, back in here in sort of cold rains neck of the woods. So it brings quite a bit of rainfall back into the mountains, probably an inch or so back there as the circulation moves on up through Charlotte, then into back to the east into central North Carolina and dissipates it out. My suspicion is that it's going to follow the European and National Hurricane Center track a little bit more closely. I don't think it's going to go that far west, so probably looking at something along these lines, coming in between Charleston and Myrtle Beach, and then moving up through eastern North Carolina. It may come in, sneak a little bit west of there if that ridge is a little stronger to the north. But I would expect Greensboro be on the lookout for some rain, and back into the foothills could see a little bit of rain back here, although this particular model, the European operational, is not really showing that. But it moves it on up over the course of Sunday into Monday. By Monday afternoon, over here in eastern North Carolina, bringing rain there. Looking at the winds, not looking at a lot of winds. This is the accumulated wind map over the next several days, and you can see along the coast we're gusting into the 30s, inland maybe into the 20s occasionally, but really not looking at all that much from the wind standpoint. But interesting storm nonetheless. It's formed quickly and it's bringing rain to the coast. There it comes over the next 24 hours. We wake up Sunday morning, we've already seen an inch of rain or more along the South Carolina coast, working into North Carolina. We get up into the 2-inch area, and you start to see precipitation working in as we get into Sunday evening, back into the Triangle area, over to Charlotte, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, up into Asheville, starting to see some rain back in those areas. But you see where the heavy rain band is. It really sets up from Columbia to Charlotte, up here toward just west of Winston-Salem, back in north of Danville, and then back over toward Richmond and so on. And the heavier rains back in toward Raleigh and back in toward the I-95 corridor. So what we're looking at over the next couple of days as we get toward Monday PM with the storm. I'll keep you up to date here in case anything changes, but that's sort of the main thing. Now we're going to look at the severe weather threat and wrap it up with that. We've got an enhanced risk for severe weather today up in the northern central plains with a big slight risk around that and a marginal risk all around that. And as we look here at the severe weather risk, we've got potential for isolated severe storms from the UP of Michigan back to northern Texas down here around Amarillo, and then back up the front range of the Rockies all the way up to the northern plains, eastern Montana, southeastern Montana, and just western South Dakota is where we're looking at the biggest risk of severe weather today. A slight risk of tornadoes. We're going to see supercells form this afternoon, mid-afternoon, quickly move into clusters in the line segment, but wind's going to be the big threat. Some of the models are showing some pretty strong winds, maybe 70 to 85, maybe even 90 miles per hour if winds can kind of organize quickly into clusters and line segments here. But definitely hang on to your hats and pay attention. Stay weather aware up here. Big hail is also a possibility, 2 inches in diameter or more. Again, tornado or two not out of the question with some of these supercells moving along boundaries, but they will form into clusters later on, and that will diminish the tornado threat. Tomorrow, the threat shifts a little bit south. We've got this pattern where we've got pieces of energy in the mid levels, and they're working on the instability and moisture in the low levels to create an unstable environment and really provide some shear for these thunderstorms to develop and organize. Tomorrow, slight risk back in near the Central Plains, Nebraska, western Kansas, and eastern Colorado near Denver, and a marginal risk around that. Again, tornadoes not out of the question with supercells developing. If there are any boundaries at the surface, there's certainly low-level wind shear that's going to be in place, so always have a possibility of tornadoes when that's the case. Wind, again, big threat out here. Could see an MCS develop out of this later in the afternoon and evening and then propagate east through the evening. Some of the models are showing that, some aren't, and if you start to see a better probability of that, we'll see higher severe probabilities tomorrow too. But again, winds gusting 70, 80, 85, even 90 miles per hour, not out of the question, and hail larger than 2 inches possible tomorrow. And through the week, we're going to see that severe weather threat sort of persist as these pieces of energy come in to play there. The model is showing this afternoon, the rapid refresh, as we get on into 1, 2, 3 o'clock local time, we're starting to see those supercells fire out here in Montana, back over in to Wyoming as well. And check this out, as they get on into the evening, we'll start to see little clusters develop, and you'll see thunderstorms all the way down into Texas as well, so isolated storms down there possible. And again, as we get on way into the evening hours, everything will kind of diminish as we lose the heating of the day. That'll all diminish out overnight. Tomorrow morning, start with probably some clouds in some areas, and then our threat begins to build back into the late afternoon hours. We'll start to see showers and then quickly form into thunderstorms, supercells again with a tornado risk, and then we'll start to see line segments and clusters develop, and they will move and merge together and potentially form an MCS. This model kind of breaks everything up, dies it out as we get way into the evening hours, but we could see some of that hold together, and if that looks more and more likely, we'll see an upgrade to the severe weather risk. So you really need to pay attention tomorrow if you're in Montana, today in Montana, Wyoming, tomorrow back into Kansas and South Dakota, Nebraska, and Colorado near Denver. Those are the main threat areas again. One more thing I want to show you quickly on this map. Got a little area up here in Maine, little mid-level system working in there, could provide some marginal threat of severe weather tomorrow, today, and tomorrow over here in eastern North Carolina, eastern Carolina, as this tropical system moves in. Always have to watch out for a quick spin up of a tornado or two on the east side of those systems. Even though it's weak, it still has spin in the atmosphere. So that's what we're looking at there, folks. Here's the wind profile, and you can see what I was talking about. Let's back this up today to this afternoon, and you can see here comes a piece of wind energy that's driving the severe threat here in Montana and Wyoming today. Watch that as we go on out to tomorrow. Piece of energy coming into Maine tomorrow, and then this wind energy gets over here in the plains on Sunday and just acts to help create shear and spark off showers and thunderstorms, and there it is, and that persists. Big ridge down here in Texas, so anything's happening down here is not moving all that much. So system Barry stuck down here and continuing to provide rain there, and then we finally get a little trough, and so that's going to kick some of this energy out to the east, and that'll move through the Great Lakes as we get on out into Tuesday, and the big ridge building out in the west might act to kind of shunt things off to the east as we get on out in time. And so that's how we're looking at, but certainly pay attention across the north and the northern plains as we go through the week. We'll see bouts of severe weather. There we go tomorrow, or this afternoon rather, Tropical Storm Chantal moving in, thunderstorms all the way up and down the Midwest into the western Great Lakes here. You'll see rain continuing to fire up in Texas. Here we go tonight with thunderstorms moving into the Dakotas. And then overnight and tonight and tomorrow night, as we get into Sunday afternoon, storms firing up along that low pressure with the frontal boundary back here. So, there's our supercells and MCS developing the Central Plains, rain down in Texas, rain over here in eastern North Carolina with Shantel. And then we going out into Monday, and we still see rain here in eastern Carolinas up into the Delmarva with showers and thunderstorms along the cold front. More energy coming through the plains. We'll fire off a few scattered showers as we get into Monday afternoon with potentially some severe weather in those areas too. Temperatures over the next couple of days, just to give you an idea, going to be cool to start down here in the southwest, particularly warm across the border, cooler across the north. Cooler than normal across the northeast, and then we get on out into the week. We get on out into Sunday. Let's see, tomorrow. There we go. Tomorrow afternoon, cooler than normal out west and warmer than normal over the east, particularly the northeast. It's going to be a warm afternoon, and we'll see this warm up as we go out and out of time, warming coming back in as that ridge builds out west. That cooler air will shift into the nation's midsection up into the Great Lakes and hanging on with warm across the east, and that will continue. Most of the models are showing this, so I'm pretty confident as we get on out into midweek, we're going to start to see warming out here in the plains and back into the western portion of the country. Cooler than normal in the central and warmer than normal in the east. That's going to be our pattern for midweek, and so we'll see that flow pattern. I'll do a deeper dive on all of this later on, but there's the flow pattern. We got ridging to start the weekend, and we go through the weekend ridging in the northeast, kind of a zonal flow with little perturbations moving in. But look at this ridge getting established out here in the southwest. That will pick up in intensity, and that's why we see the warm temperatures coming in. A little bit more troughing in the east and the nation's midsection. It'll be cooler there, and a little bit warm air hanging on the east coast. But we're probably going to see an active east coast pattern, at least in some terms of some northwest events as we get later in the week. And that's the forecast for today, folks. I hope it's been helpful to you. Stay weather aware down in Texas, into the plains, and across the Carolinas too as we go through the next couple of days. And make sure you have a way to receive weather alerts. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll be back probably on Monday with an update. Take care.